Another new chart type in Excel 2016 is called a Pareto chart. Now, you will hear it pronounced differently, possibly a Pareto chart or even a Pareto chart. A Pareto chart allows us to track not only the content or the sales that we're talking about here, say in column B, but also the cumulative percent. Now, we don't need to actually have these numbers. In prior versions of Excel, if you wanted to create this kind of a chart, you would have needed formulas like we see in column C. And what these formulas do, and we'll see them in the chart momentarily, is as we're looking at our sales here, and let's say this is a company that has offices in these states only, we could say if we're looking at California, Texas, and Florida, our sales from those three states comprise almost 74% of our total. And if we throw in New York, that's 83%, just looking at those four. And so these are arranged in descending order. Now, we don't have to do that anymore. In fact, we could be looking at data like this. This happens to be sorted alphabetically. It can be in any order. I think logically you probably would sort these in descending order by sales, but we can highlight this data and we will get the capability of creating these kinds of charts. Now, sometimes you don't know about charts. You might not have even heard about this chart, but you might discover it indirectly if, for this data here, remember, you can highlight it all, but if it's surrounded by empty cells, you can just click in it. You could go to recommended charts here. And as you look at the data here, it might not alert you to what you need here. You could go to all charts, but you don't even see that chart name there. This is one of the new charts that doesn't appear in the list. So it's easily overlooked. Now, let's say you have heard about it. In fact, maybe now is the first time you're hearing about it. Where do we find this? When you go to histogram, or the histogram icon here, it says Insert Statistic Chart. You don't see anything. And you could easily overlook the icon to the right here. And there it is. See the description. Use this chart type to show the relative portion of each factor to the total. Show the most significant factors in the data. Let's choose it. There it is. And again, I stress the data in the background is not in that order. It's not California, Texas, Florida as we see in the chart. It's in any order we wish, and we see it there. It's alphabetical, but here's our chart. And we can see clearly as we look at this what's happening. As with all charts, you might want to consider clicking the plus on the right. We could add some data labels here. That simply confirms the numbers that we see as I move this rightward here. I'll scroll to the right as well too so we can focus on that chart. So it certainly has a certain level of usefulness. What you can't do so easily here, as I double click this line, we can certainly make that thicker. We can do some other things with it, but we don't have any content aspect to that. So the data labels don't really apply to that. So I think that's a bit of a shortcoming. In prior versions, and we can still do this now, if you had worked up these formulas like this, and if you click in this data here, if you go to Insert in the ribbon menu system and choose Recommended Charts, you will see, and here we are seeing here, the same kind of chart we just created. And it does take advantage of that information. It actually works with the existing information this way. So that's based on the data in columns A, B, and C, and you can see the charts are identical. And here, if we add the data labels, we see what's happening. We get the percents and these. So it's looking almost the same, but I think those added data labels really helps. Another thing to do, if you want to go down this path, is to double-click one of the columns here and consider changing the gap width. Not critical, but sometimes that makes the chart look a little different, accentuates the idea perhaps of volume. Make that gap width be 10 or some other number. Experiment with that a little bit. So I've seen some examples of here of how to create a Pareto chart, however you want to say it, using the new method, the new technique, that new button available by way right here on the histogram icon, or possibly using technique from prior versions as you might have done it there, putting in these calculations. That allows us to get the data labels here too. So a Pareto chart has real application, real life situations, and in some businesses they're widely used.